Finally, after how many years, we're getting Stalker lore. This better be good. Jade Shadows is Warframe's newest update. The lore of this update focuses on the Stalker, who outside of his invasions made his last major appearance in the new war in 2021. The 30-minute cinematic quest follows the player playing as the Stalker and learning more about his backstory. Also, before we continue, I want to give a spoiler warning. I will be spoiling the quest in this video, at least in the first section. All of Ascension's story related bits will also be relegated to this section, so the spoilers will end at this timestamp. So, after completing the quest, I had 3 questions. Firstly, what the fuck? Secondly, how the fuck? And finally, why the fuck? All in that order. I was just stunlocked from this point onward because I was so flabbergasted by the concept of a Warframe giving birth. Looking back at the pre-release build-up, I could see why they went so heavy on the spoiler warnings. But in any case, this is one of the best quests in the entire game, right behind the new war. It tackles a very heavy subject. Unfortunately, a substantial amount of women do die during childbirth, and the father is unwillingly left to raise the child all on his own. It can be heartbreaking shit, and the game treats this scenario with the sincerity it deserves. It also has another emotional layer to a character that was widely known as just an edgelord. We see the lovesick side of him and how he's willing to partner with the person he hates the most for Jade's sake.
Order scouts, anything is left of their sanity at this point.
It then sets up so many different premises and possible scenarios now that it's possible for a Warframe to have a child, even though Jade got pregnant before Ballas turned her into a Warframe. Is it possible for Warframes to be biologically related to one another? Could we get a Warframe in the future that's the direct descendant of an already existing one? How much of a sick fuck does Ballas have to be to Warframeify Jade while she was pregnant? Honestly, my biggest problem with the quest was how short it was. Whispers in the Walls was a decently paced quest for what it was, especially since it was the direct start of this new quest arc, but I feel like Jade Shadows could have benefited from being a lot longer. The biggest reason why is because we don't get to see much of Jade and Soren's relationship unfold. We only see one flashback of them mentioning their names, so we know they loved each other, but that was about it. We have no idea who either of them were before becoming the Warframe and the Stalker, so it would be nice to learn about their past lives, either through their quests or some codex entries. Also, about the new villain Captain Zito, I saw a lot of people question her decision to stop firing at the Stalker after hearing the kid crying and call it a plot hole, but I feel like it kind of makes sense. The Sisterhood isn't as ruthless as Nefanyo's Corpus is. Parvos has been shown to be more calculating and cunning, but at the same time to an extent human. In the Deadlock Protocol, he chastised Nef for how he's been abusing his power and condemning his actions towards others.
Watched as you claimed for yourself my teachings of self-reliance, perverting them into a flaccid philosophy of sloth, of idleness. Is that you, my son?
No, that must be a different son.
So I'd personally expect the Sisterhood and potential candidates to have that same level of compassion. In terms of the lore from Ascension and Belly of the Beast, I'm happy that both Ordis and Parvos get their time to shine. Orden Karras' story isn't as well known as it should be, so having this mission shed more light on one of the best sub-stories in the game is amazing.
Stoppable. Perhaps the operator needs to take another trip to the depths of Uranus. To find more volatile motes, of course.
It's also great because Ordis is only the navigator on Jupiter's sabotage node with occasional appearances elsewhere, so it's nice to see him be the main focus of this mission. And I also love the focus on Parvos being this event's villain. If you couldn't tell from the little ramble I had a minute ago, Parvos is my favorite Warframe villain. He presents a different side of the Corpus that the player isn't used to. Until the Deadlock Protocol, they only saw the faction as ruthless merchants who value money over all else. It's not until Parvos shows up and directly combats this ideology by showcasing his technological prowess with the Spectre technology, Protea, and Tenet weaponry. However, here we see the full extent of his villainy. He doesn't care about Jade's tragic backstory, he only sees her as a means to an end, especially since she's dead. He just cares about using her motes to fuel his Eximus project, and this helps solidify the fact that he can be both ruthless and cunning. Jade Shadows' biggest new addition apart from the Warframe Jade is the new Ascension game mode. The game mode follows players performing an emergency extraction from the Stalker's stronghold while defending a package from the invading Corpus forces. Other than that, Jade Shadows brings with it a slew of quality of life changes. Stuff like mini reworks for Ember and Frost, a complete overhaul in enemy scaling and status effects, and a semi-auto to full auto toggle feature. Ascension might be one of my new favorite game modes. Hijack was always one of my least favorites, but this is an upgraded version of it. Like I mentioned during the last section, the dialogue was entertaining, but its gameplay loop is also extremely fun. The fact that the capsule can't get damaged while it's on the elevator makes for a unique experience. You can just explore this chamber to your heart's content while finding the ionic capsules you need. And the added gameplay element from Belly of the Beast, summoning the Sister of Parvos, adds another layer of complexity and intensity to the game mode. And the best part, it has its own loot cave. What I kind of don't like, however, is how intense of a grind Belly of the Beast is. If you're wondering, grinding out this event is the only reason this video took so long to make. Not only did I have to put up with the event's broken day 1 drop tables regarding Jade and her weapons, but I was focusing on getting the arcanes. Getting the rare ones like Avenger and Fury is easy enough, but when it comes to the legendary ones like Energize and Barrier, it becomes a bit of a hassle. The only other thing I want to bring up in this section is the status effect rework. It's taking the game in a new direction that I'm honestly excited for. It kind of brings back the main philosophy of the game. It's one hell of a grind, but the grind is all worth it. Seeing how lesser used status effects like Blast and Magnetic get massive increases in power, yet the main viral and heat meta most people, myself included, got used to remain as potent as they were before, and the armor scaling making enemies less tanky makes stuff like Corrosive easier to proc. So all in all, I'm a huge fan of the status reworks. Jade Shadows is the next step for Warframe. It evolves and deepens what we know about one of the game's most iconic villains, as well as what we know of Warframes in general. There's a lot of setup in the quest, and while it doesn't look like any of it will affect 1999, it does create new premises for future story quests. Its brand new game mode is a much better take on Hijack, giving the player freedom of exploration as well as an engaging gameplay loop. And the status effect rework buffs underused statuses while retaining the old meta we got used to, which reinforces the power fantasy philosophy of the game. Thanks for watching to the end. Over the past couple days, I was thinking about picking up my Every Warframe Kit in 60 Seconds YouTube short series. I started it back when Dante released, but I stopped because I was focused on my God of War Ragnarok series. However, now that I don't have any video essays planned, I can work on this. I was always planning on going in alphabetical order, so I'd pick back up with Baruch. I have assets needed up to Jade and gameplay recorded up to Frost, but I might need to rewrite Jade's video because there are parts of her kit I didn't know about beforehand. That's all for now. See you guys later.